Here is a GST concept every exporter and supplier to special economic zone should understand. That is, they can supply goods to special economic zone or they can export goods and services. Then they don't have to pay GST. Not only that, they can claim the input tax credit also for the export and supplies to special economic zones. Sounds interesting, right? Let us look into the details of this. Exports and special economic supplies, why it is treated as zero rated and what are the provisions under GST. The provisions for zero rated supply is given under section 16 of the IGST Act 2017. So exports and special economic zones, supplies to special economic zones, these are coming under this category. So zero rated, this has to be differentiated between exempt supply. Exempt supply, you know, the products, books, newspapers, some recognized healthcare services, recognized tuition fees for recognized educational institutions, milk and some milk products, fresh fruits and vegetables, all these are coming in this category. There GST is not charged. Here zero rated GST, you can claim input tax credit, whereas exempt supplies, you cannot claim input tax credit because GST is not charged for that. That is the major difference. Now, why they are giving the zero rated supply this benefit? That is to make our products internationally competitive. Now, what are the two methods of supplying exports and supplies to special economic zones to claim the refund? First is by paying GST. By paying GST, that meaning they have to produce the documents and then they can claim the refund. Second is without paying IGST, then they have to produce the letter of undertaking for that. So that is very important. Now another documents, if it's goods supplied or goods exported, letter of invoice, letter of undertaking, export invoice, tax invoice and other documents prescribed by the GST Act are required. Similarly, for goods supplied, exports of goods, services supplied. So here also the GST is providing certain documents that they have to give. Now, if for special economic zones, the documentation is required. First is the export invoice should be there. Then the letter stating that the supplies are made to special economic zone. Then the concerned officer has to endorse that these supplies are received to the special economic zone. Then other documents required by the GST Act. Now, why they are giving these benefits? First is, as I told you, to make our products internationally competitive. Second is to encourage exports and supplies to special economic zones, that will result in exports. Then the fourth one is to reduce the cascading effect of tax, because if every tax is added to the inputs, then the price will increase. Then to encourage the supplies to special economic zone and to promote the work of the special economic zone. But some problems usually faced by these exporters. What are the problems? There is lot of work involved. Documentation is very important. If you are not having the proper documents, you will not be able to claim the refund, ITC refund. Then delay in getting the refund, that is another problem. Delay in getting the refund, sometimes the technical issues will be there or the government will take time to give the refund. That will not be encouraging for the exporters. So some documents are missing, then they will find it difficult to claim the refund. So it's very important that they can encourage exports, they can encourage supplies to special economic zone with proper documentation and GST compliance while enjoying zero rated supply.